everyone, good afternoon. My name is Amanda and welcome to The Done Creative. For today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different than what you've seen in the past on my channel. We're going to be doing a reading about the collective consciousness or the collective energies response to the coronavirus. I don't even know if there are videos about the coronavirus as far as readings go, but I've been called, my guides have not left me alone for like the past 2 weeks, and yesterday I couldn't fall asleep, and then this morning I woke up at 5 a.m., which I am not typically a morning person, so that will tell you something, but I woke up after going to bed at almost 1 o'clock last night at a little after 5 a.m., just buzzing with energy to do this reading and just downloads of information on what I need to let you guys know, because the thing is, our main source of information or news about these things come from powers that are greater than us, and we almost just have to take their word for it. We don't know because we're not in there, we're not like a first-hand account witness to know what they're saying is correct or the truth in any way or a lie. Like we don't know. But because this is kind of a sticky topic or a hot topic as far as YouTube and the algorithm and the AI, I wanted to let you guys know that there are some trigger words that I've used a couple so far, but I'm not going to use them because that will let the algorithm know that there's someone talking about something that they shouldn't be. And I want this message to be able to get out to as many people as possible because I feel there is a great sense of power and responsibility and positivity to be learned from this reading. I do have a little list of words that I'm going to change in the reading so that you know what I mean, but I'm not tripping that algorithm to keep saying, let's censor this, let's censor this. So I will get my list, and I don't know if that's focusing. I think it is. So here's my list, so you can go ahead and read it. I'm not going to read it out loud because that'd kind of defeat the purpose of some of these trigger words, but I will be posting this with the reading so that when I say one of these trigger words, you will know what it means, so you don't have to memorize this or anything. And I did kind of get this idea from a gal named Dana Ashley who has a YouTube channel that's just speaking truth and trying to get truth out there. And I think that's all many of us are trying to do right now, is just to share a higher timeline and to try to get people to realize that what the MSM, I don't know if you remember what that means from our chart, but what the MSM tells us is not gospel, and we don't have to play into that timeline, because the thing about this existence, this reality, is timelines are constantly shifting. And I like to use the example of, you open your closet in the morning. Are you going to wear the yellow shirt or the blue shirt? You choose the blue shirt. Well, the yellow shirt was also a timeline that you just didn't select, and it may play out for a while before it kind of fizzles out. But that blue shirt timeline that you chose is going to play on. And every single decision we make, thought we have, it just keeps shifting us to different timelines. And usually it's shifting us to the timeline that is going to be for our highest good. And especially if we are into positive thinking and trying to make the best out of our lives and to heal our traumas and just get on the train that's going the right way, we will be manifesting the timeline that is for our highest good. And that's the hope and positive part of this information that I want to share today and with this reading is, no matter what this reading's outcome is for the collective consciousness, and even then it can change at the drop of a hat, because even as a collective, our views are constantly swaying back and forth on a scale. They're not set in stone. And every person that starts to wake up and, hashtag woke, and people who are seeking the truth from a higher, more spiritual perspective are the ones that are going to be kind of leading this earth to a higher dimension. And if you're unfamiliar with 5D Earth and 3D Earth and Ascension and all of those buzzwords, you may not really completely understand this video that we're going to be going into depth with some of those things. But if you are on a spiritual path, you know what Ascension is, you know what is happening with this earth, moving from a 3D consciousness to a 5D consciousness, then you will be right at home with what we're going to be talking about. And words like star seeds, light workers, all that, you know, those are just labels that people put on things, but if you resonate with some of those labels, you will really be able to understand what I want to convey as the message that I've kind of channeled, and then the cards that I'm going to shuffle here in a minute and get set up on my table. But I just really wanted you guys to go into this reading with this sense of hope and power, because the only way someone can take our power away is if we give it to them or we let them in some way. And I know it's way easier said than done, because this 3D matrix is ruled by fear and fear and fear and lack and fear and lack and lack and fear. Those are like the two things that keep that wheel going round, to keep us stuck here in these 3D energies where we feel like something can be taken away from us. And we're evolving out of that, where we're more stepping into our own power and realizing how powerful we are as these multidimensional beings. We are not just humans, we are spirit having a human experience. And just because we are stuck sort of, you know, right now in these meat suits, it does not mean that we are powerless. We have power that we can tap into, but in order to get to a lot of that power, we have to break down those walls of the belief systems we've built up around us, or that other people have sold us without us even wanting to buy them. Society at large, and just kind of the way the collective has agreed on specific things. You know, for an example, we all agree that there's a such thing as gravity and clouds and mountains and whatever. You know, as a collective consciousness, we've agreed on certain things. But just because the collective consciousness has agreed to take on this CV, remember our chart here, just because the collective consciousness has decided to take on this CV does not mean us as individual high vibe people have to as well. We can step out of that and say that is not for me, that's not the timeline I want to involve myself in, and we can empower ourselves. And it's not just this woo-woo, ooh, I'm protected because I'm a spiritual being. I don't mean it like that. I mean to still take your proper precautions. Do what you would do during any normal cold and flu season. Wash your hands, you know, eat really good foods for your body, you know, get your immune system top notch, do all your vitamins and whatever, you know, whatever resonates for you. Make sure you're taking care of your physical vessel, because you are still in a physical planet, in a 3D realm right now. So you can't just be all up in your spiritual self and think you're going to be okay. You still need to take care of yourself on a 3D plane, and that will involve a lot of stuff. But we're going to get into that. I just wanted to, I'm already at a little longer than I wanted to for the intro, but I wanted just to preface this reading just to let you know that this isn't going to be anything about gloom and doom, or that this is exactly what's going to happen and ta-da, because every moment timelines are shifting and rattling and fizzling out, and new ones are coming from behind and taking the lead. And I like to think that we, especially people who are good people with good hearts, they're always going to be protected by their spiritual team and put on the highest timeline possible for the greatest outcome for them and for the greatest collective. So I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to get these cards shuffled and set up on my table here, and I will bring you along with me in just a moment. So you may want to go grab yourself a healthy beverage, maybe some hot tea or some water. Get some fun crystals just to hang out with you and get some of that good energy going, because we might be here a while. I don't want to try to set a time limit on this reading, because I want whatever messages need to come out to come out. So if you're a fan of long readings and long spiritual topics and long videos about such, then you're in luck, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of energies and messages coming through for us to learn from. So I will see you guys in a moment. All right, so I realize I forgot to let you know more about Dana Ashley. It's spelled just like I'll put here on the screen, and I will go ahead and link her channel below in the description because she's somebody I just recently discovered through a very synchronistic way. I was reading a comment on Facebook as I was listening to somebody else's kind of news report about what was going on, and as I read her name, her clip came onto this other news YouTuber channel, and to me that was just like a major synchronicity that I couldn't ignore. And I went and binge watched a lot of her more recent videos, and I just can't believe it because a lot of what she's saying is stuff that I have received through downloads or just intuitively knowing. And she's somebody who gets straight to the facts and cuts the BS and, you know, is out there trying to spread truth without being censored. But, you know, it's happening to a lot of people who are trying to wake others up. And if you want to check out her channel, again, I will link her in the description below, and we will go ahead and get into this. And I want to say before we get started that if at any point something just isn't resonating with you, please just take any of this information as a grain of salt. I want to say that this is not medical advice or life advice or anything. This is just information that is coming through in this reading and in these cards and through channeling and just intuition. And if it doesn't resonate, that is absolutely fine, and I don't expect you to have to adhere to any of this information that's coming through. And again, I'm not a doctor. I know a little bit about stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody what to do. So any advice I give in the medical arena, just go ahead and take with a grain of salt. And as a disclaimer, I will just say that this reading is for entertainment purposes only. Again, just take what resonates and leave the rest. So I will go ahead and get into this, and I figured I would do this similar to how I do my monthly pick-a-card readings, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the tarot deck and kind of get a layout of what's really going on behind the scenes and, you know, collectively. And then we have this huge, and I don't think that it's doing justice to how huge. I mean, this is like a card deck in and of itself of oracle cards that we're really going to dive into this reading with. So like I said before, you may want to go get yourself a beverage, get cozy, because this might take a minute or a lot longer than a minute. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the tarot layout and figure out what we need to learn about this CV right now. Okay, so this is going to be the card of the overall energy, and this is the energy that I'm calling this, I think, a collective reading, all about the collective energies surrounding this CV. Like I said in my intro, my very long intro, if at any point you do not want to participate in the collective energies that are happening, you do not have to. You are not forced down a path. You are not set in stone. The future is not set in stone. And even though this is a reading of the collective energies, again, at any point in time they can change for the better or for the worse. This is just kind of a prediction on where we are currently right now. This is the 29th of February 2020 right now. So this is just going to be where we're at now and where we're headed as far as the timeline we're currently on. So the overall energy of this CV is, we have the Six of Fire, or the Six of Wands, which it says victory. I mean, the very first thing it says here on the card is victory. Good news is on its way. Public recognition or awards. So to me, that's already feeling like this whole thing has been really hyped up. Not to say that the people in CN aren't dealing with something really big right now, and the people of these other places that this CV has spread to. Not to diminish what they're going through, but I do feel that the MSM and probably the powers that were are hyping this up to be something bigger than it is. And the fact that there's public recognition or awards, it almost feels like this has been put out, this CV has been put out, and it almost feels, it's weird because I got an amalgam of ways that this is kind of manifesting in this 3D world. And one of them was that it was man-made. Another was that it was a natural CV, that it's like they can't really differentiate between the two. So CV has been around for a while, but they're saying this is like a super scary version of that. And I'm feeling like there's cases of just regular flu, there's cases of CV, there's cases of this hopped up CV that I feel has escaped from some sort of lab or something. There's the FG element to it as well, because the place where this CV originated was in a city where it was a pilot city for FG, and they went live with that, I want to say in December, and ever since it's like this snowball effect of illness has happened, and it's because our bodies just aren't made to take that kind of vibration or frequency on. It's not healthy for us. But basically what I'm feeling from this Six of Fire and with this whole public recognition or awards is this was released to further someone's agenda, is what I'm feeling. Like public recognition about these people who are gonna swoop in and save us or something. And it kind of feels fishy or not right. Like there's something not right about what we're being told about this, which people who, if you're watching this video, you're probably someone who's already on a spiritual path. So you realize that there's a huge agenda to keep us sick, to keep us lethargic, to keep us docile and compliant, so that we can't evolve ourselves into something greater than we are now. And it's all about control and power by the powers that were. They can't keep us this low vibration that we've been for, I want to say thousands of years, if not longer. They can't keep us there anymore. This planet is evolving. And if you don't know much about Ascension, 5D Earth, you can go ahead and Google that or look up other YouTube videos about it. I'm just going to go under the guise that you guys already know what's going on with that. This is saying on the flip side of the coin, as the overall energy of this CV reading is there's victory. And I think this is victory for the people, for the collective. I don't want to say that nobody's going to get hurt or nobody's going to die, because that's not realistic. There will be people who decide to leave this planet at this time, and they've already signed up for that on a soul level. This isn't something that's just happened to them out of nowhere. This has been coming down the pipe, I think, for a while. I feel like those who are meant to leave this planet because of CV will do so, but I don't feel like it's going to be this big pandemic that they're talking about on the news. But that doesn't mean we can't prepare for things in a day-to-day way. We can still do that, but that's the overall energy that we're getting here. And for the energies of the past coming in, we have the Empress in reverse. So normally the Empress is all about abundance and giving birth to something beautiful, nurturing yourself and others. And because this is in reverse, it feels like, that lavish abundance that you would get with the normal Empress upright. This feels like a scarcity or a lack. Fear. I'm picking up a lot of fear and thinking, because this is reverse of giving birth to your dreams, it's like you're feeling powerless. And maybe not just you, but as the collective, people are feeling, because this is the recent past, maybe when we first heard about this or even right before it came to be, people are feeling dejected and at a low point and just in lack, and like they have no power, and what others say goes. And I think this is really picking up the energy of the people in CN, because in that country they don't have a lot of free choice to do anything and everything they want, and they kind of have to go by a specific set of rules that we're just not used to here in where I'm at in the US. And I can just feel this sense of powerlessness and wanting to leave this situation behind. And I almost feel like this manifested where it did because these people need liberated. These people need to be freed, and freedom always starts within the self. We are free on the inside. We are free as souls. Nobody can hold us down on a soul level, but when we incarnate into this world, things are different. We give our power away willingly because we think we have no power, and it's all an illusion. We have so much more power than we realize, and when we can all tap into that and start realizing it and dropping these belief systems that are not serving our highest good, that are not serving the world, that's when we can start changing things for the better. I'm really picking up that this country here, CN, that is just feeling powerless and like in this lack. Like everything is every man for himself, fight or flight, and just very sad energy. And because this is the Empress, which is that mother card, this almost feels like the people of CN are feeling almost orphaned in the world. Like they are motherless and powerless, and when you're sick and you're not feeling well, you want your mother. And because this is in reverse, this is again past position, these people feel, and I'm getting crown tingles, these people feel almost like there is no mother, there is no parent, there is no one looking out for them, no one caring. And not to say that they don't have caring families and members of society that they, acquaintances and friends and family that they feel they can care about and that care about them. But this is just feeling like as a people, they just feel like a motherless country is just what I'm picking up. So the energy in the present moment, and I'm feeling before I flip this over that it's already spread from CN to other countries and even into the US as far as the energy. I'm not talking about CV, I'm talking about the energy of the present moment. This is what we're going through as a collective around the globe. And we have the Knight of Air, which again is in reverse, and normally this is a fast-moving knight that is making decisions and just going and tireless. Things are happening quickly with your upright Knight of Air, but because this is in the reverse position, that changes things. So that decisiveness means that people are feeling like there are no options, that they have to do X, Y, or Z. They're forced to do something, like they're not allowed to do what they want, and that things occurring at great speed. I almost feel like CV itself is occurring at great speed in certain areas, but in other areas, it's not gonna pop up tomorrow. Like a lot of the MSM is trying to portray that at any moment things could go, this could become a wildfire, and this is basically saying that it can, but for most of the globe, that's not the case, at least right now, because this is our present conditions, our present moment. And this is also a card all about really reviewing your options or weighing your options. And because it is in reverse, again, we feel like we have no choice but to do what they say. And whoever they is, it could be MSM or powers that were, you don't have to follow what they are doing just because that's what they're trying to tell you to do. You need to listen to your own intuition. And because this is a card normally about creative solutions, again, I'm just feeling this hopelessness in certain areas, and even just kind of spreading around the globe, that people feel like, well, we're getting this and we got to be prepared, which I think we should be prepared, but that doesn't mean you need to give your permission to this CV that you want to acquire it or attract it into your town or your home. You don't have to give it permission to come into your life. Just because the MSM is constantly talking about it and spreading fear about this thing does not mean you need to accept it as your reality, I think is mostly what this Knight of Air in reverse is telling us. So in our future conditions, and I want to say this card will take us into September. Maybe not even that far, maybe August. But this is kind of near future and into the summer months is kind of what I'm feeling. And we have the 8 of Fire, which it's funny because it's all about things moving fast, like we were talking about with this Knight of Air. So where things may have felt standing still, now they're moving forward. That could include CV spreading farther than we thought and faster than we thought. Also, the delay of our problem-solving skills or our feeling of hopelessness is over. We have a lot of things happening at once. I feel for many people, this is just people preparing, stockpiling enough food for about a month, maybe a little longer, for yourself, for your pets, for your family, supplies you will need, because if they do what they've done in CN and start locking places down, we're not going to have a lot of access to the supplies or the food we may need, especially if the CV is spreading in certain areas. There's going to be almost a panic to get to the store and get everything off the shelf and hoard for themselves. And I almost feel like the 8 of Fire is just saying, just because you're preparing for something to happen doesn't mean you're giving it permission to happen. But even if this doesn't happen, the fact that the MSM is all about spreading fear, going from 0 to 60, wildfire kind of thing, even if the CV is not on the move, the MSM may be reporting and fear-mongering people into going to the store. So whether there is a CV on the loose or not, people may be rushing to the stores and buying everything off the shelves, and there will be this kind of, going back to that Empress, that lack mentality. You don't feel there's enough supplies, there's not enough food, there's not enough this, that, and everything. So this, I'm just saying for you guys, if you're watching this, just because you're prepared for something to happen doesn't mean you're giving it permission to happen, but you are setting yourself up for success if you are prepared for a situation, because they say if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Check in with your intuition, weigh if this is something that is important enough to you that if something did happen, that you want these supplies on hand, or if you have other alternatives where you maybe could stay with other family members or friends that can help take care of you during this time, whatever the case may be. But I almost feel like this is kind of a double-edged sword, that things are moving forward quickly as far as maybe CV goes, but that could also be things moving forward because the MSM is creating the illusion that things are happening that really aren't happening. And I don't just mean the MSM, I also mean the powers that were, governments, all of that. They are creating this sense of fear. And I'm not saying all governments are bad or all government officials are bad, because there are agencies and stuff that I think, the people working there are people just like you and me. They're humans. They have hearts. They care. So they don't realize the agenda that maybe is being pushed from the top down. So there are people you can trust. And this is just saying, if something happens, don't be afraid to take action. That's the biggest message I'm getting from this with, these 2 fire cards is, if you are sensing something or your intuition is hitting on something, don't be afraid to take action on that intuition. Even if you tell your spouse or a family member or a friend, I feel like I need to do this because, whatever. Don't feel silly sharing your truth with people, even if you can't quite explain it yourself or you don't understand where these feelings are coming from, because just like when a forest fire or a flood or some sort of natural disaster is happening, the animals days before sometimes, or even weeks before, can sense something's about to come down the pipe. Animals can sense something's about to happen, and they will move their location or start gathering more food or whatever the case calls for. Animals are very intuitive, and they're not like us humans. They don't sit there and second guess themselves all the time. They get this feeling that I need to do something, and they take that fire energy and they do it. They take action. So this is calling you to take action if you feel there's action that needs to be taken. If you have this sense that you need to prepare, don't procrastinate on that. But if you have no sense that anything's going on for you, then you follow that intuition as well. This is a very polarizing and double-edged sword kind of card for me, as far as it's almost like I'm picking up on two timelines, two very distinct timelines that are happening simultaneously. This is how I like to think of it. You can get out of bed and just be having the best day ever, and someone you work with rolls into work, they're in a grumpy mood, everything's a challenge, everything's a problem for them, but yet you're standing right next to them having a really good day. You're whistling as you work and, just doing all the things. You guys are coexisting in the same space, but maybe you're on a different timeline than the person next to you that's having that grouchy day. Just think of it like that. So even if you see things going on in your area that are kind of concerning you, that still doesn't mean you need to sign up for that timeline or sign up for that energy. You do not have to. You do not have to participate. But that being said, again, that doesn't mean don't prepare on the 3D realm. You still want to take precautions with your body, with your home, with your resources, just like you would any other time. So then, in the position of the best path to follow, your greatest advice is the sun. And the sun is one of the best cards you can get in the tarot. It's just to have, when I think of the sun, I think positivity, just a very happy outcome. And for me, for this reading, the best thing the collective can do is have a positive outlook on the outcome of this situation. Keep in a positive mind space. I just keep feeling like, with the MSM doing all this fear porn on the TV and on the computer, you don't have to buy into that, because that will lower your vibration and start you worrying and stressing over things that may not even pertain to you. And just like a lot of past, epidemics, as they say, just as we've had a lot of other past outbreaks like Ebola and the Zika virus and SARS and all these others, West Nile, all these things that, they really hyped it up, the MSM hyped it up, and it became something that really, for most people, not everybody, but for most people, it didn't even interfere in their day-to-day life whatsoever. And if we take as the best path to follow as the best, most positive outcome in our minds, we keep that in our minds and hold that as our intention, then that will be the outcome we experience. And not to say if you or someone contracts this CV, that doesn't mean you weren't a good person or were negative. Things happen, but your greatest defense against this is preparing, boosting up your immune system, keeping positive, loving the people around you, and not buying into the fear that the MSM likes to sell you. The wish coming true, as far as this CV goes with the collective energies, is the Two of Fire. You understand things. For me, this is a card all about understanding. You have this idea and you start making a plan to go after this idea. So I think for a lot of you guys, this is you just deciding, this is the path I want to be on. I don't want to be on this path. And instead of dwelling on the path you don't want to be on, you're going to start really planning for the path that you are on and that you want to continue to be on. And this is all about moving forward after, this could be a card after all this is said and done. You're just moving forward because either it didn't affect you or you're ready to move forward and you're still going strong and everything's fine. This is a positive card. And it's sometimes also about new partnerships or contracts that have been signed. And I'm picking up positive stuff because this is actions that we are taking. These fire cards are all about that passion, that drive, and taking action in the direction of the way we want to go. For your wish coming true, you're moving forward. You're not dwelling in this negativity of CV and the MSM and all the stuff they're trying to sell. You're moving forward and continuing on with life. Maybe you're starting your garden, maybe you're getting out in nature and walking and just doing things that are healthy for yourself and spending time with family and friends, because this is something that I feel like just won't affect most of the collective. It's just not on most of the collective's radar. At least as of the time of this filming, it's not registering as some huge pandemic. There is not, outside of this kind of past Empress in reverse and some of this present kind of fear energy, so far nothing majorly crazy. I mean, these are all decent cards. I mean, there's no tower moments. There's no devil cards. I mean, this is a decent outcome involved in most of the collective consciousness as far as it manifesting in their reality. For the outcome, we have the Four of Air. So this is a card all about taking time off or resting and making sure you get a vacation, allowing more time before you make a decision. This is all about kind of going within and meditating and getting the answers that you seek. So this feels like, it almost just feels like the morning after a big storm. You're waking up, you're rubbing the sleep from your eyes, and you just feel like you've been through it. And because this is an air card, and that's that mental, and then this is an air card with that mental activity, this all just may be mental, like you've worked yourself up, or people in the collective have worked themselves up for this big thing to happen, and it was just all in our heads kind of feeling. And that's what that's feeling like for me. But I am gonna grab a clarifier or two on that just so we know what's going on. So yes, clear my cards. Oh, this one's calling my name. Okay, so we have the Queen of Water. It just feels like what we need to do is just stay in that loving space, that empathetic space where we're patient, we're loving others, we're taking care of ourselves, we're taking care of our relationships, we're trusting our intuition. That's a big thing with the Queen of Water. And just taking care of yourself and others. This isn't all about just yourself, but as the collective, taking care of one another. We don't have to fear our neighbor when something, as the CV and the way the MSM hypes it up, we don't have to fear our neighbor the way we've been shown, like on The Walking Dead and things like that. We don't have to fear our neighbor. We can care for our neighbor and be empathetic and sympathetic to what other people are going through. So I'm feeling like that's just, I'm not picking up that this is going to be some big pandemic everywhere. And even if it does spread, I'm not feeling like it's going to be a huge death toll for the most part. A couple thousand sounds like a lot of deaths, but if you consider how many people are on this planet, that's a very low number. And that's kind of the energy I'm picking up, that it might seem, with this Knight of Air and the Four of Air, it may seem like there's a lot of people going through this, but in the grand scheme of how many people are on the planet, it doesn't feel like a great majority by any stretch of the imagination. I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and clear this off so we can start with this thick daddy here, because this, I feel, is going to take us a while. So let's go ahead and clear these out and get some of these going. And I think I want to just start with these ones on the bottom and then just kind of build the reading as we go. So, okay, I think that looks straight enough. So we're just gonna start over here and work our way through and then build on that with more oracle cards as we go. Right here, the very first card we have is positive expectations. And that's what we were talking about with that Queen of Water and the Sun card and all of that. I mean, I'm trying to keep these so I can remember what we had, but they'll be easy to access if we need to. But it's basically just saying, as a reflection of this Sun card, have those positive expectations and things are going to be okay for you. And as a collective, if we were told by the MSM, don't fear, just make sure you're staying in a high vibe and take care of yourself. If that's the kind of news we received, this world would be a lot different. So it's up to us individually to separate ourselves from the fear porn and find higher vibe ways of getting our news or learning what's going on in the world. And if you feel the need to just completely step away from knowing what's going on in the world, that's fine too, because you will follow your intuition as to what you should do in the situation. The next card we have here is problems resolved. So it feels like anything that's going on is just gonna resolve before it. It's like I see two distinct timelines, where this CV decides to run its course around the globe and people are going through it, not dying, but going through this CV and experiencing it in their communities. But then I see this other timeline, which it feels way more likely that everything is just fine, that this whole thing was just hyped up. Again, not for those in CN that are going through things and those other countries that are going through things, but as far as the mass consciousness and the collective, it feels like this whole thing has been trumped up or hopped up, and it's not real. It feels like an illusion to me. The amount of fear they're giving is not in direct effect of what's actually going on. It feels like there may be a little bit of something going on, and then they've just thrown gas on a fire, and it's just boom, it's just out of control, is what that feels like. But this is just saying here, problems resolved. And here in this picture, she's wearing these butterfly wings, and then she's holding this snake. And I don't know if you know anything about symbolism of animals and insects and all that, but butterflies are, that they're like the symbol of metamorphosis. And she has gone, it feels like to me, she's gone through something, and she's come out on the other side with her set of wings. She started as that caterpillar, she now has her wings. And then another thing with the snake symbolism here is, and I don't know if you guys can see that, I'll just put that up here for you. She's got this snake kind of coiled around her arms here, and it's just kind of up here like a little friend. But to me, the snake symbolizes that own inner power, that kundalini energy, or your own sacred energy, your soul even, is what it's representing for me in this reading. And she's got it in both hands. Like, I've got the reins of my own power, is how this is feeling to me. And then in the next card, I don't think this even needs any explanation. It says happily ever after. I don't have much else to say, because that just is so concise as to what's going on with this. It just feels like a happily ever after for most of the collective is what this is showing. So not much else I can say about that. Look inside yourself. This is great to pair up even with peace of mind and positive expectations, problems resolved. And then also here we have rise above problems. You got, the problem is resolved, you've risen above it. Rise above any problems that come your way. But a lot of the problems can be resolved by looking within. Look inside yourself. Do some meditation. Figure out what is best for you to do in any scenario, whether that's completely stepping away from this madness and not subscribing to it at all. And, people may say, oh, you're in denial, whatever. It doesn't feel to me like this is a denial. This is just deciding, I'm going to opt out of this one. I'm just not going to participate. And that's a lot different energy than denial. And that still doesn't mean that you're going to just completely ignore everything and not prepare for this if, it's called for on the news or whatever, to prepare yourselves. Because pandemic or not, if everybody else is panicking, they're going to empty those store shelves, and then you're left with nothing. So this is just basically saying, look inside yourself. If you feel the need to prepare for something, prepare for it. If you feel the need to ignore it, ignore it. If you feel the need to feed into that and get your social media fix of what's the next thing about this CV that I need to know, what's the news telling me I need to do tonight, if you want to feed into that timeline, that is absolutely your prerogative as well. But this is just saying to look inside yourself, really get in touch with your inner self and your soul, and figure out what is best for you. Because we're not all on the same path. We're all on the same mountain, but we're all taking different paths up that mountain. And your path may look a lot different than even people you live with's path. So just keep that in mind. And the positive expectations while looking inside yourself. And then with the peace of mind card, this is just calling you to keep that peace of mind. Positive expectations, everything we've been talking about, just keep in that high vibration. And then it says here, new opportunity. For me, this is basically saying that this hype around CV is basically calling us to some sort of new opportunity. So especially those people in CN, maybe this is causing something to shake up in their society to where they just don't want to live that way anymore. And maybe they overthrow the powers that were in their area and decide, no, this is what we want, not that. And it just feels like this hype, this hysteria, this pandemic, whatever you want to call this, whatever timeline you're on, it just feels like an opportunity to rise above the problems that are going on in the world. So it's basically putting a magnifying glass on certain areas of our society and making us realize there's a problem here that needs to be resolved and risen above. And we don't have to take what they're dishing out to serve us. We don't have to take it, is really what this is feeling like for me. So let's go ahead and get into our next couple cards. And I kind of want to try to keep these as neat as possible, but we'll see what we got. So, okay, the first card here we have, keep your eyes on your targeted intention. And this just keeps basically beating a dead horse with this original reading we did. Just keep those expectations high, keep your intentions of the outcome you want as the sun. Positive, happy outcome, confidence in your own power. That's what you're manifesting if you can keep your eyes on your targeted intention. And then here it says it's time to leave this unhealthy situation. So that could be, cutting the cord on MSM, or those people in CN or other countries all around are just realizing this is not the energy of society that we want. And as a collective, people are deciding to leave that situation, whether that looks like them deciding to leave this planet or leave their country or leave the belief systems behind that they've held about certain people, places, things, ideas, whatever. But whatever's unhealthy for the collective, they're going to start, and you're going to start leaving it behind because you realize, I deserve better, this is not for me. And then here we have, the situation is already resolved. And then rise above problems, problems resolved. This is resolved. It's like there's a resolution. So the timeline we're tapping into with this collective energy, that main good timeline, it just feels like there's no problem anymore already, even though it's only February 29th, and this is expected to go on into next year as far as what the MSM is telling us. But it's already resolved, is the energy this is putting out. And that's not to say that things aren't still happening where the CV is spreading and things are going on. That doesn't mean that, but the situation itself, the underlying parts of it, in that highest good for all of us, is resolved. And then we have God is in charge. So I like to think that these, like the FG here and what they spray in the sky, what they put in our food, and what they strip from our food with GMOs and stuff, they are making things less natural than they started as, or just creating things that are not of nature. And that is always going to be a lower vibration and a lower or a less than what is natural and what God is in charge of. So if you decide as a personal choice that you're going to live as naturally as possible, or not allow these things that the powers that were decide for ourselves as a society, like as an example, FG, you don't have to subscribe to that, because God is in charge. The universe is in charge. Mother Earth is in charge of what ultimately goes down on this planet. Because don't think for a second that if Mother Earth wanted to right this second, she could just shake us off like the fleas on her back like a dog would do if she really wanted to right now. She could do that by causing all sorts of chaos, but she's not doing that because she feels like, as far as this whole 5D Earth thing goes and ascension, that the problems are already solved. She is just looking, to that sun. It's like a brighter day has already come for many people. And it's just, do you decide to continue to resonate in this 3D energy or in 5D energy? And then here we have, your home is protected by angels. To me, this comes many ways. Of course, literally, with your home being protected by angels, you're safe from what's going on with all of this. And another way is angels come into play not just as an angel swooping down to save the day, but they will send resources or people or tail ends of conversations into your awareness so that you can benefit from that, and it will spark something within you. So if you all of a sudden have this inkling that I need to really get prepared for this, your home is protected by angels. Angels are guiding and directing you to do what's best for your highest good and those that you love. So this, I think, for me, just goes right back to the intuition and keeping that positive expectation as your compass that you're being directed by. And then here we have embracing peace and enthusiasm. So enthusiasm, this isn't just buying into what's going on with all this fear. This isn't just preparing for something to happen. This is keeping yourself in a high vibration. When you're enthusiastic, you're excited about things. And it says here, I celebrate everything in my life and I live in limitless joy. So just take part in realizing that this whole world is a miracle and you can really relish the little things in life to bring yourself into a higher vibration and just keep an enthusiasm. Maybe everyone else in your area is panicking about what's going on with CV, and here you are. Again, going back to the garden, I see someone planning out their garden. They're just really happy about life and they're not buying into the fear. And then embracing. I embrace and love all of my life. So if this is all about embracing what is, but holding the positive intention for what you want. So just embrace what's happening. Don't try to fight what's happening. Go with the flow, but always keep that positive expectation in your sights. And then the peace card. I breathe deeply knowing that all is well in my universe. So that feels like, because this is for the collective and also many points of us within that collective, but peace. Keep that feeling of peace prevalent and at the forefront of your mind, and you won't have to go through all the fear and the stress and the worry and the anxiety about what could happen and what will happen. If you can keep yourself in that peace and have that positive expectation, you don't have to worry about any of that. So then, just kind of keep stacking here. I might have to move stack some of these on top of these, but we'll just roll with it. So we have be open to spiritual guidance. Use your wisdom. Remain centered. Accept life's challenges. And it's funny, this accept life's challenges goes hand in hand with this embracing card. And on the card here, she's not ho-hum, woe is me. She's out catching this butterfly. She's doing stuff that brings her joy, living in that enthusiasm. I think these are hard to see. Sorry about that. I'm just going to do this. And then the remain centered and use your wisdom. To me, these two cards go really well hand in hand, and the be open to spiritual guidance, these all go really well hand in hand. And it's funny, there's a hand here offering a flower. Just be open to your intuition. What messages are you getting when you do your meditations, or what gut instincts are you getting? Just listen to that. Be open to that. Use the wisdom that's within you, that powerful soul-centered energy we all have. Use that. Remain centered. Don't let the fear overtake you. And again, when you're going through something, accept life's challenges. Just surrender. Don't fight against the current. Surrender to the river and let it flow you to where you need to be. And that's not just that fatalistic type of surrender where you're just like, well, throw your arms up, well, I guess I'm done, and being a victim. That's not what this card's calling you to do. It's just to embrace what it is. It is what it is. This is what's happening in my life right now, and I'm keeping my eyes on my targeted intention. I'm accepting what's going on, but I'm ready to put my energy somewhere that's going to bring me somewhere better. That's the main thing I'm getting from that. And then here we have the Cosmos card. We have the Resting Tree. We have the Desert Prince and the Swan Queen. So the Cosmos is a card all about creativity, and just the cosmos are just this vast area. I mean, you can't measure how big they are. And to me, this card is really just pointing out that we're all creating our own reality. Every moment that we are living, every minute that's ticking by, we are creating the life that we are living. Even if we're not living a life that we deem exactly what we want, our thoughts, our past actions have all led us up to where we are now. And a lot of times we don't want to take responsibility for what it is we're going through. We want to say, well, that other person did this, or why me? I'm such a good person. And we all get stuck in that, and my sympathy does go out to people who are stuck in these cycles where everything just seems to be going wrong. But there comes a point where you have to realize that you are the lowest common denominator in everything that's going on in your life. So if you're at work and the people at work aren't doing what they're supposed to, they're not listening to you, and then you go home and your wife or husband isn't listening to you, and then you go out with friends and they're all talking, having a good time, and no one's listening to you. In all those instances, you are the lowest common denominator. And as that example, you feel other people aren't listening to you, it's because you're not listening to yourself. You're not going within and listening to your own needs and fulfilling your own needs, and not putting the expectation on other people to fulfill those needs for you, but you're taking action in the direction you need to go. That's just an example, but we are all creating our own reality. And if you want to create something where there's fear and all that, you can easily create that for yourself. If you want to create something of love and peace of mind and peace, peace and peace, I didn't even realize they're one on top of the other. But if you want to create that life of peace, that is up for grabs. That is available to you at any time. Fear is available to you at any time. It's keeping your eyes on your targeted intention, those positive expectations, realizing with this Sun card that you are in control of the outcome. You are the puppet master. You are also the puppet. Ultimately, you are the one calling the shots in your own life for yourself. It's just many of us have forgotten that and have given our power away to others. And then here we have the Resting Tree, and this is all about patience and stillness. And this may be calling many of us at this time to go within again with this remain centered and using your wisdom, just going within, look inside yourself, and just practice stillness and patience. Feel what that feels like for you, because when we are resting and being still, that's when we can recharge ourselves. When we're constantly being told to grind and hustle and do all these things, we can't recharge ourselves. That's what the main message I'm getting is, just to rest when you are called to rest. When you feel like you're burned out, stop everything you're doing, prioritize what absolutely can't be put off, do it, and then rest. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves through all of this. And then here we have the Desert Prince, which is all about survival and false promises. To me, this is kind of talking about that timeline where the fear is involved, and that card all about survival. I don't feel like this is an actual energy. I just feel like this is being projected, from the MSM, the powers that were. It's a projection of you gotta survive, survival of the fittest, every man for himself. And then false promises of everything that the powers that were promise us, or the MSM promises us by having these officials and governments telling us, oh, you can have this, and then they, sleight of hand, take it away. We're moving out of that energy as a collective. We're just done with it. And this is just saying, you can feel like you're in survival mode, you can buy into those false promises, or you can take a different route. Keep your eyes on your targeted intention. Whatever it is you want to manifest, keep your eyes on that prize. The Swan Queen. Transformation, intuition, patience. That just goes really hand in hand with that Queen of Water we got as the clarifier on the outcome. Just same energy I'm picking up. And it's all about using your intuition. This whole mass hysteria and everything going on can be avoided if we listen to our intuition, or we can put ourselves on the best possible path by listening to that intuition. And again, this is a card all about transformation, this metamorphosis here with the butterfly wings, transformation. We are all going through, as a collective, a transformation where we're realizing we don't like the way things are anymore, and that's why CV has come to shake it up. It takes things like this a lot of times for your average person to open their eyes and realize life is too short to just be working and paying bills and dying. There's way more to be had here. There's way more to experience. We don't have to feed into the political agendas and be a means to an end for these powers that like to use us as, like I was saying earlier, as the puppets. No, we are our own puppet master. But many of us have forgotten that and given our strings to the powers that were. And we can take those strings back at any time. It's all about keeping your eyes on your targeted intention and the positive expectations and going within and rediscovering that part of yourself that needs to be healed. When we're unhealed or we have past traumas that keep rearing their ugly heads, we give our power away to them. When we can heal those past traumas and wounds and belief systems, that's when we gain our power back and realize it was never away from us to begin with. It was just an illusion. So then we have our last stack of cards, and I'll just kind of pile these with the others here. See if we can get away with not covering too many. As I was messing with the cards, my camera decided I had talked too long and timed out and stopped recording. So we'll go ahead and just start right over here with the stretch card. And I don't think I mentioned earlier, but this was the stack of cards that was what we can do for our health to avoid any of this CV nonsense. And this is what we got for our kind of, I guess, health advice, but I'm not giving official health advice. This is just, take it with a grain of salt. If it doesn't resonate, leave it behind. So the first card here we have is stretch, and this is all about moving. For me, this is not just stretching your body, but also moving your body. Make sure you're getting proper exercise through this. With the caffeine-free card, that's just saying, not just caffeine, but any kind of vice that isn't good for your health, whether that's smoking, drinking, caffeine, lots of sugar, processed foods, unhealthy stuff, whatever it is that is a vice for you, this would be a great time to try to avoid it or just cut it out of your life, because the more healthy you can make yourself, the more you're gonna boost your immune system and completely avoid this CV altogether. And then here we have give us your cares. So I think this pairs well with not worrying and knowing this card under here. That's the situation's already resolved. Oh, look at me making a mess of everything. One of these, God is in charge, right here. God is in charge, and it's funny because it's right under that card. But give your cares and worries to God, or your angels, or your spirit team, whoever. Don't hold on to those and stress out and worry. Just make sure you are giving your cares and worries to God and the angels, because it feels to me like there's no need to worry about this situation. And then here we have the relationship card, and for me this is encompassing all relationships. In the midst of this whole hysteria about things, people will step on other people to get the last box of whatever off the shelf. And what we were saying earlier about loving your neighbor, not fearing your neighbor, this goes with every kind of relationship in your life, and especially those that are close to you. During the whole hysteria of this thing, as it plays out on the world stage, however it plays out, whatever timeline you're on, make sure you're nurturing the people you love, and going back to that Queen of Cups, just taking care of yourself and others and nurturing those relationships, not letting them go by the wayside because we're all so stressed out about what's going on in life or what we're perceiving is going on. And then here we have the Yes card, and it says here, "Dear Archangel Raphael, please help me trust my feelings as the accurate barometer of truth." So that's another intuition card. I can't even remember how many intuition cards we've had through this reading. It's very important to trust your intuition at this time. Very important. You know what's best for you better than the MSM knows or the powers that were know. You know what's best for you. You know what's best for those you love and have under your care, if you're a parent or a teacher or somebody who is a leader in their community. You know what's best for yourself and those you care about. And then here we have the hydration card. I mean, you can't stress it enough. I got my water right here because my throat is still a little scratchy from that big flu and upper respiratory thing I had going on all of February. So hydration, I mean, it's something we hear every day, all the time, but it's something so small we can do to greatly boost ourselves to completely avoid CV. And then here we have the detoxification card, and that kind of goes without being explained or without saying, but detox. Just detox, going back to that caffeine-free. Detox what's not serving your health. Turn your Wi-Fi off at night because that does not help your health with those RMF frequencies roaming your home as you try to sleep. Or even during the day, maybe get rid of Wi-Fi altogether and just hardwire everything in your house and just completely avoid those RMF frequencies altogether. You can do a heavy metal detox, a liver cleanse, all sorts of detoxes. You can Google just about anything your heart desires on detoxing, but the main message this is saying is anything you know is maybe not up to par, you can detox. You don't have to live with what you have going on right now. If you feel that's not in your best interest and you want to make things in your best interest, you can detox what's not serving you. Yeah, I think this is most of the messages I'm getting. This was a pretty long and in-depth reading. If you're still here, drop me a purple heart emoji if you can. If you're on the computer, I don't think you can do the purple heart emoji, but you can just type the word purple heart, just so I know who made it all the way through this CV reading. I think the main takeaway with all these messages here is that there's no fear to be feared except fear itself. There's a lot of stuff going on, I think, behind the scenes that we're just not privy to that is trying to get everybody hyped up and panicked. But then I think there are other governments or societies where the government is maybe not hyping it up enough to where they're just gonna let the citizens kind of go every man for himself. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, there's just different energies from different places. This trying to do a reading on a collective energy is kind of difficult because there are so many different pockets within the collective and different belief systems, religions, political affiliations, label, whatever labels you want to throw on things. There are just so many different groups of people that it's hard to pick up on all of that in one reading. I'm feeling for you guys, the ones that are the spiritual warriors here to make this world a better place. You already know most of what we've talked about as far as making sure you're keeping your thoughts positive and living the life you want, not the life that you've been dealt. And you guys are already in the know with a lot of this stuff. But the two cards that I want to really remind you of are the sun and happily ever after. We're gonna be okay. We're not gonna go extinct over the CV. We're gonna be okay. Maybe not everybody's gonna survive this, but for the most part, the collective is gonna be just fine. And I almost feel like, not like they're gonna be just fine, but they're gonna learn that new opportunity. They're gonna learn something from this to make the world better than what we started out with before the CV decided to come into our collective consciousness. So I don't want to delay this any further. Thanks again, you guys, for all your likes, comments, shares, subscribes, and all the things. And I really, truly do hope to see you back at the Den Creative. All right, bye.